Welcome to Kaczynski on Cars. Today I have Toyota's biggest and one of their most capable SUVs that they have on sale. But before I go further, I want to thank the kind people at Sarah Toyota over in Saginaw for letting me use this truck today. This truck is actually priced at MSRP and is currently available. So if this is something you're interested in, give them a shout and ask for Sam. They'd be more than happy to help. But this is the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. It is an insane vehicle, and I'm going to propose that it is a good replacement for all of the people that are appalled by the new Land Cruiser. So hear me out, but let's take a look at it. This vehicle is painted in the color Ice Cap. That's just going to be their plain, non-metallic white. It is flanked with gloss black accents, which I think look very, very good. The TRD Pro is, of course, the halo model for all Toyota trucks and SUVs, and it gets you a couple cool things. Starting out back, you do get the TRD Pro Performance Catback exhaust, which I think sounds really, really good. And then coming over to the side here, you do get the TRD Pro BBS Forged wheels wrapped in Falcon Wild Peak AT, I believe they're AT3Ws. Although they are the manufacturer spec, so they have a little bit less tread. They're not quite as aggressive, but for Toyota, I'll give them a pass because normally they're just some Michelin LTX trails. So that is a plus in my book. But the big thing about the TRD Pro is going to be suspension. So this has Fox dampers, and it also does have a bespoke upper control arm, bespoke sway bars, as well as all kinds of underbody protection. On top of that, these trucks all do have locking rear differentials. They have Toyota's crawl control system, multi-terrain select. So they're very, very well fitted for some crazy off-road adventures. The TRD Pro also does get you the cool roof rack on top, which does create a bit of noise on the highway, but I imagine if you're overlanding and want to carry a bunch of goodies and items with you, that is going to be a good thing to have. But let's check out the inside. And we're gonna start right off the bat with the most controversial issue the Sequoia has. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Sequoias are all hybrids, and in Toyota trucks, that means that they put the battery in the back. The reason I suspect they do this is to keep the battery protected from any rocks or anything that you could hit on the trail or off-road. But what that means practically is the interior is greatly compromised. So back here, you do have these third row seats that do slide fore and aft, but these batteries will always stay here, and these seats will fold on top of it, not into it. So it makes packaging quite difficult, and compared to Suburban, compared to Expedition, this cargo area is much, much smaller. That said, given the compromise that the interior engineers had to deal with from the mechanical engineers or the body engineers, I think they did a decent job working around that. So I obviously mentioned that these seats will slide fore and aft. You can also fold them like everything else, and like I mentioned, they don't fold into the floor, but you do have this little parcel shelf here, if you will, which you can fold out these little extendable arms and have a flat-ish load floor if you're okay loading things very, very high into your Sequoia or things that are not very tall. It is okay packaging given the constraints, but if you are worried about hauling big things behind the third row, then I would probably steer clear of the Sequoia, unfortunately. You can also move the shelf all the way up here, and then you can open the window so you can have kind of like 2 levels of storage. But enough back here, let's check out the third row and the second row space. Now, getting to the third row is actually not too bad. You fold this and tip it forward, and then you can crawl back in. Now, I don't want to get this truck disgusting, so I'm going to clap my shoes outside of it. But the third row is okay at best. The problem, just like the cargo area, the seats are basically on the floor. So my knees are in my face. But this is the worst case scenario. Now, for regular viewers, they know I'm not a tall individual. I'm about 5'7", a little bit longer legs than torso. So legroom is okay, but it gets a lot better. You can slide these back quite a bit to have a good amount of legroom, and then you can also recline these and be pretty comfortable back here, and you can do the same over here. So if you have shorter legs or don't mind the knees in the face driving position, it's not too bad. Headroom is pretty tight though once you recline these seats. So it's kind of a mixed bag back here. I would recommend it for smaller individuals, you know, no one larger than myself, or for any amount of time, or any extended amount of time back here. But short trips and stuff like that should be fine. But moving to the second row, once again, very easy. Flips out of the way, and then this flips up, and then coming back here, I have tons of space. The floor is much lower down here, so I don't have thigh support issues. I have my own little armrest, which is ratcheting, which is cool, and then I can recline my chair back here, and then I do have climate vents, a 100-watt outlet, which I wish was a little bit more, given that this is a hybrid, and then USB-A and USB-C ports. Overall, second row space is not bad at all. It's just the third row that I'm a little concerned about. But let's hop up front and show you what you, the owner, are going to see every single day. Popping up here, the Sequoia is very beefy, very manly. It is not a bad place to be at all, actually. You have Toyota's connected system right here on their 14-inch display. Resolution is very good. Response is very good. The screen can be a little buggy in and out, but not bad at all. Very basic, but CarPlay on this looks fantastic. The quality of the materials overall is pretty good. You do have some scratchy plastic up here, which I'm not a fan of, given that the fact that this thing is about $85,000, but where the materials matter most, like on the top of the door sill, the elbow rest here, the center console, the materials are all pretty good, and you do have the soft leather here on the dashboard. So not bad, but it's not class leading. The JBL sound system does sound pretty good. Once again, I don't think it's class leading, but if you like music and are not the utmost audiophile, I don't think you'd be disappointed. I think the TRD Pro wheel is very, very nice. It is heated. It's perforated all the way around with a nice noon mark, and then you do have heated and cooled seats up here, as well as the heated steering wheel. Center console, tons of space. You also have your gun safe, so that just kind of goes to show you the type of buyer that is buying a TRD Pro. And in the center here, you do have Toyota's 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, although it is very, very different than all of the other Toyota models. It does vary more with just the Tundra and Sequoia. It's not as configurable. This center tachometer and speedometer and these two pods have limited customizability, but you can kind of see everything you want in the left side there. Let's see what's under the hood. This is the second most controversial part of the Toyota Sequoia, because powering this is Toyota's 3.5, or technically a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged V6 hybrid, internally known as the V35A. Now let's talk about the objective points about what this engine is. It's a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6. Now these are all hybrids, so it is paired to a 48 horsepower, 184 foot-pound of torque electric motor that's sandwiched between that engine and a 10-speed automatic routed to all four wheels. Also has a rear locking differential and part-time four-wheel drive. Total system output is 437 horsepower and 583 pound-foot of torque. Now let's talk about what everyone loves to talk about with this engine, and that's reliability. Now, the gas-only versions had a major recall in 23 and 22 with basically catastrophic engine failure, where metal shavings would get into the engine and basically grenade itself. Toyota is fixing all 100,000 engines, even though the failure rate is about 1%, so sometimes as low as 0.8%. The hybrids have scathed much, much better. They have a pretty clean history of reliability when paired with the hybrid powertrain. I don't know if it's manufactured on a different line or what it is. I would trust this hybrid powertrain quite a bit, especially if you're worried about the previous models. But I'll shut up and let's see how this bad boy drives. Setting off in the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Before I would get into driving impressions or anything like that, I want to get in a little deeper into the philosophical conversation of my hypothesis earlier, that this is the perfect truck for everyone that despises the new Land Cruiser. And everyone in the comments will probably voice their opinions one way or another. But let me recap this. There's a lot of people out there that are outraged that the Land Cruiser is no longer this big, effortless, beefy SUV that it used to be on the 200 series. And to some extent, they have a point, right? The new Land Cruiser is a little bit smaller, a little bit less expensive, arguably a little bit less premium, a little bit less heavy duty, and it has a turbocharged hybrid 4-cylinder. Now, I want to be the first to admit, I think it's a great vehicle, and I think it's absolutely worthy of the Land Cruiser name. But I know I am potentially in the minority of those who believe that. So, with that being said, this is a body-on-frame, heavy-duty SUV with a very powerful powertrain that is kind of the second definition of effortless, and it's still wildly capable. Now, I don't want to be naive and tell you guys it's as capable as the 250 Land Cruiser or even the 200 series Land Cruiser, because it's not. You have a little bit lower ground clearance, it's obviously physically bigger, and the angles aren't as good. But if your plan is light to medium to moderately hard trails, and you want the Land Cruiser driving style, I think this is the truck to buy. And it's cheaper in a lot of cases, especially when you adjust for inflation, than the old 200 series Land Cruiser, and God forbid you buy a 300 series Land Cruiser in the form of a Lexus LX. Now, enough talking philosophically. Let's talk about what this truck is like to drive. Let's start with powertrain. This hybrid powertrain, as I mentioned earlier, is truly the second definition in effortless. This V6 with the electric motor makes so much torque at such low RPM, it feels like it's hardly even working to move this truck. I kid you not. I have this truck in eco mode 90% of the time, and if I don't want to, I never have to exceed 50% throttle. Transmission is also incredibly smooth most of the time. Occasionally it has a weird downshift or a weird upshift when it's cold, but more often than not, it's an incredibly smooth and seamless upshift, and the ratios are very, very short. And then in sport mode, when you want to drive this thing spiritedly, it has very quick upshifts. Transitioning into ride quality, this truck is still exactly that. It's still a truck. It has a solid rear axle, it has coil spring rear suspension, and obviously it's body on frame given the size and capability. Given those hardware limits, this truck rides very, very well. They've tuned the Fox suspension, in my opinion, for the street a lot better than they tuned the Fox suspension in the Tacoma TRD Pro, but I believe the Tacoma would probably be more capable on a high-speed Baja style off-roading than this would be. My guess is that you'd probably find the bump stops in this first, but I don't think that's what this truck was designed for. It soaks up the big bumps very, very well, and you do feel the little bumps occasionally, but it's not bad at all. I can imagine also the very chunky Falcon Wild Peaks definitely help absorb some initial impact. Road noise is kept to a quiet minimum, which is very nice. The only noise that this truck exudes are two, one pleasant and one unpleasant. The TRD catback exhausts, as well as the fake or augmented engine noise, I think sounds very, very pleasant from both the inside and the outside. But what I'll get to when we're on the highway, the roof rack that you guys saw earlier, that makes noise upon noise upon noise. So if you don't plan on using it, I would honestly remove it, and I know it's not that hard to do. So just keep that in mind if you do plan on buying one of these TRD Pros. Alrighty, we are almost out of the city, and let's get this thing up to highway speeds. This truck, even in eco mode, can absolutely get up and run. It is incredibly quick, and I think the 0 to 60 time that we'll do later in this video will absolutely prove that. But how are the highway manners? So this truck, like every Toyota, has adaptive cruise control, lane tracing assist, which is all part of the Toyota Safety Sense 2.5, and it does a very, very good job. It's not quite as good as the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 that you find in the Tacoma, Land Cruiser, 4Runner, all the trucks that have been updated in the last couple years, but it is still very, very good. And for those of you in the comments that say, oh, real men don't need adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist, you're absolutely right. But when you're on a road trip and you want to get from point A to point B and you want to just relax and be refreshed by the end of that journey, that's what adaptive cruise and lane keep is very, very good for. I personally would not buy another vehicle without it. Excuse this. And especially in an overland vehicle where you are doing a lot of in-car traveling, it's very, very nice. So props to Toyota for making a active driving suite that is so competent, so reliable. I think it's very good. Good job, Toyota. Alrighty, let us get out of eco mode. Let's get us into sport mode, and let's see how this truck is in a more spirited drive. Now, I do want to acknowledge my and this truck's disposition in that this is not a performance vehicle, at least on road. Technically, it's an off-road performance vehicle, but it's not meant to carve canyons. That said, it's not terrible. It feels its weight, it has body roll, the steering is not the most direct, nor the sharpest, but given its size and mass, it handles alright. I've driven a lot of vehicles that handle worse, that are in this size, but I would say this handles average, if not maybe slightly better than average for the class of vehicle. Now, I know my regular viewers are going to hear my gripes coming very early in that Toyotas do not have full-time four-wheel drive, nor do they have a true limited slip rear differential. So, powering out of corners is a little bit difficult, but being that this is an SUV and not a truck with a lightweight pickup bed, it puts its power down a lot better. While this thing is not very entertaining to hustle around corners, this powertrain absolutely is. It is a rocket ship and a half. It shifts very quickly. The gear ratios are very, very tight, and the implementation of the hybrid system with torque fill as well as initial throttle response is really amazing. It feels like a freight train. And I know it's fake engine noise, but dang it, it sounds really, really good. But enough of my subjective impressions. Let's see what this truck will do from 0 to 60. I'm going to put this in two-wheel drive. 3, 2, 2, 1. Yeah, this truck moves. Let's see what that was. 6.13. If you do 1 foot of rollout, 5.85 seconds to 60. For reference, that's about as fast as a Volkswagen GTI. That's about as fast as a Subaru WRX. So that's pretty quick. In a 6,100 pound SUV, yeah, I'm not complaining. But let's try and take this truck into a little bit more of its habitat and do some tarmac off-road, or Tarmac Baja, and see how the Fox suspension handles that. Cut to that right now. Alrighty, welcome back to Tarmac Baja. This is the Sequoia TRD Pro. Got it in 4-wheel drive, got it in sport mode. Let's see how the Fox suspension does. The answer is amazing. Holy crap. If you took this dune running, Baja running, or anything like that, you would be in complete and absolute comfort. Because holy crap. It feels heavy, but the Fox suspension does such a good job at isolating every single big hit and imperfection. This truck is really impressive. Hats off to Toyota for making something that frankly shouldn't exist. It has no reason to exist. Because I don't know that many people that want a 3-row SUV to take Baja running, but it exists and you can. And thank you, Toyota, for building it. Holy crap, this thing is fun. This is the ultimate dune runner, Baja runner. If you can find trails that it will fit down, holy crap, this is your truck. I am thoroughly impressed. Back to my original argument, this is totally the truck for people that want the old Land Cruiser, but don't like its new identity. This is your truck. Buy a Sequoia TRD Pro and be happy. Stop complaining about the Land Cruiser. Buy this. This is the truck to have. Don't get me wrong, I still love the new Land Cruiser, personally. And I will review one. It's only a matter of time. But if you're one of those people in my comment sections that say it's blasphemous, buy this. End of story. But I've had a really, really great weekend in the Sequoia Pro. But I will see you guys in the final thoughts. Final thoughts on the Sequoia TRD Pro. This truck is quite literally the definition of overkill, and I love it for that. But what does this truck do well? This truck rides very well on the street, has incredible capability both off-road as well as in terms of towing in excess of 9,000 pounds, and the powertrain is really, really well done. It has amazing torque, is very smooth, and is incredibly responsive. The problem is, all of that is at the sacrifice of cargo space and third row seating capacity. It is very tight, and that's all thanks to the hybrid battery. That said, who is this truck for? In my opinion, it's for two people. If you are A, looking for a 3-row SUV with a lot of capability and are willing to make some sacrifices, this is your truck. The other person is if you are looking for a Land Cruiser, but you hate the new 250 series Land Cruiser, I say this is a great alternative. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, it means a lot to me. I make these videos for you. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Adios.